Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for yet again the Last of Us podcast remastered, bottles and bricks. We're talking about episode 5. How are you doing? Do you have your tissues handy? Are you recovered? We're about to go and talk all things spoiler on this episode. It's a smaller crew today, just for context, because this is a Saturday. Because The Last of Us premiered yesterday. Because the Super Bowl is happening on Sunday, of course. So it happened yesterday on Friday. So I'm curious if some of you guys even get to see the episode. But if you did, make sure you tune in. If you haven't, go and save this and come back to it a little bit later on, because we're gonna divulge a lot of spoilers about not just this episode but also the game. But I have here Ronan. What's up, dude?
Hola, everybody. My eyes are kind of dry now because I've been crying myself to like Mexican music after rewatching that episode again. HBO, Naughty Dog, in the most lovable way I can tell you is that bravo and fuck you at the same time. Like that. That's how you know it show's good. That I'm like, I am mad. I'm this emotional, but I can't stop watching.
Yeah, we definitely got your FU in our little spoiler snippet, so we appreciate that. I think Naughty Dog appreciates it as well. Speaking of FUs, Jarrell, what's up, dude?
Yeah, what's going on?
What's up, man? All right, let's go ahead and just get into this thing, man.
Please, because I have like one brain cell flickering. Okay, I've been up all night, literally.
He's not infected, folks. He's not infected.
No, he's fine, you guys. Like, he didn't get infected. He's all right. But yeah,
just a simple YouTuber.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and kind of break down the episode a little bit. For you guys, like transitioning from episode 4, which episode 4 we've already unanimously said was pretty good. The transition happened from the last thing that we seen. Joe and Ellie were held up by 2 kids, basically. One kid in particular, we find out, is Sam, has a gun pointed straight at Joel's head. And Ellie is being, of course, held up by Henry. Now, so beginning this episode, we see Henry and Sam, and there is literal chaos going everywhere. Like, people are getting slaughtered in the streets. Like, it looks terrible. And it looks like there's a civil war going on, but we don't know the context behind it. We've seen stuff like this, like within The Walking Dead, where it's like a thread of stuff, but it seemed like this was really brutal. And when you think about how old Sam is to be witnessing and seeing all this, and also Henry is not that much older either, like he's trying to figure out how to navigate and protect his brother. So introducing these characters in this way, how did you guys feel like introducing? Because the thing is, both, all of us technically have played the game. But as far as how they introduced Sam and Henry into this, from transition from the last episode, how did you guys like it?
I really dug it. It's that scenario where Craig and Neo said, "There's stuff. If you're a fan, there's stuff for you. But just like everybody else, there's surprises about." Look at that. But yes, I like that this version. I didn't know whether I was expecting again. Joe and Ellie going through a window, and then the tumble and whatnot of them arguing, be like, "Damn, you hit hard." But I like that where we're introduced to them also talks about the world, or at least the environment they're at right now in Kansas City, and right. We're not spending too much time with exposition telling you, well, 10 days ago, 11 days ago, this and this happened. Visual stuff can let you know, okay, something big occurred in the city, and we don't know which side won and which side lost. But if you look at the signs, you look at the uniform and what they're saying on the mic, you can put the pieces together.
Right. Yeah, there's been some people that's kind of been like, oh man, I wish you guys would slow down. Like, but I kind of agree with you. Like, if you kind of let it drag for too much, you miss the whole point of the narrative. But Jarrell, what did you think about like Sam and Henry's introduction from knowing them in the game to kind of how they're introduced here?
I thought it was fine. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah, no real flaws there. I thought it was pretty well done in that context. I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, Sam and Henry, I'm not familiar with the actors, unfortunately, but uh, I can't say that was necessarily was blown away or that these are some of the best performances I've seen of the year per se. But that aside, I thought they did a really solid job of being like, oh yeah, that's for sure Sam and Henry. Maybe not played masterfully or something performance wise, but oh yeah, that's definitely Sam and Henry. So they did a good job there for sure.
Yeah. The interesting thing that they changed with this one, we found out very early on, is that they made Sam deaf. Now, we didn't initially know why until the emotional damage at the end of the episode as to kind of where that means. And it's going to be interesting us talking about that and breaking that down because in the game, Sam is not deaf. And he's actually a little bit older. I believe Sam is roughly around Ellie's age, if I'm not mistaken.
14, 12, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but here he's a lot younger. And so the exposure to everything is just daunting. And it's kind of like when you think about like his brother trying to navigate him around and him, like Sam basically is like, look, how's everything? And his brother lying to him, all he can look at his brother's face and figure out what's going on. And so when they intercept with the doctor and the doctor's like, look, hold up here. And I think Henry said something along the lines of like, yeah, Sam's really scared. Like, no, like he's scared because you're scared. And I thought that was really fascinating because in a situation like that, realistically, he probably is, but he has to figure out how to put it together. But any parent, you don't want to convey that level of fear because then the expectation of hope is never going to be there for the kid. So I think that the way that they executed that was pretty good. But I did want to talk about him being deaf because now in this, how do I put it? They changed something that do you guys like the change that they made? And I'll get to why I'm going to bring it up. I think you know where I'm going with this, Ronan. But did you guys think it was interesting them adding that deaf element to it? Him having to use sign, him having to use the clipboard to communicate with Ellie as opposed to using verbiage. Because to me, the last few minutes mean so much more because of the pen pad. Because the whole entire time we're seeing him with the pen pad, and yet at the same time, like we're seeing him here, like with the spray paint, like he just wants to be a hero. He wants to feel like he's stronger. Even when they were cooped up there for 10 days, like all he could do is draw superheroes. We didn't know what it was the last episode. It's like, oh, this is Sam. Like he's trying to encourage himself to keep going forward. But as far as including him being deaf in this, do you think that was a good compliment to the character and I guess to this story?
Yes. A huge fucking yes, for sure. Big yes.
I agree. It's one of those elements that I think what people have been saying, or at least the creators, and now I'm saying that the show enhances the game. Again, people might still have their taste here and there, but it throws a new element in terms of communication and what happens when not everybody can speak sign language. And I think nice. Okay, Alar. Okay, right on. But yeah, it's something that like I'm telling you, these past few years, watching on the Timothy Mikey, I as I watch stuff like A Quiet Place or I watch, Eternals, I watch this, I want to know sign language now. Not just because I saw in a movie, but like it's another form of communication. And um it's a big here's the thing. That's not even the biggest thing that's going against Sam. The biggest thing that is just not even just a throwaway, but it's sort of the catalyst to why they're in the scenarios that folks, Sam had or has leukemia. That this, being deaf is part of the world, and the show was very fortunate, or we were fortunate that the show showcased that. And yeah, it was a cool element to the dynamic between Joe and Ellie, where she's trying to get through him with puns and all that stuff, and the sibling aspect of trying to take care of someone who is deaf, and now there were strangers, and how do they communicate with him if for some odd reason Sam and Henry got separated. So I love it, and again, a nugget of something that I didn't know they were going to do, but I'm like, okay, this is a fresh element that I don't know what could happen. I know where the journey goes, but will they change much? How much will defer? That still left me with tension while watching the episode.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to kind of bring it up, because there's an element to that, because because Ellie this whole entire time is been, how do I put it, desensitized to the situation around her. Joel has been trying to figure out how to break her out of thinking like all this should be normal.
Yeah.
Like, he keeps saying like, you shouldn't have to see this, you shouldn't have to do
Mhm.
this. And she's like, does that make it any easier? She's like, it's like, no, but you're still just a kid. And for this episode, she finally has somebody to actually communicate with, to kind of like look after, to encourage. When they finally kind of go down to the little area down below and they saw areas to play, like I was kind of like, that's the first time we really seen Ellie just be a kid without any kind of concern at all. Like, it's not like she's looking for something in the corners. Like, it's not like she's just being sarcastic because she's trying to hide her fear. Like, she's legitimately just playing with another kid. And the interesting thing is that you see Joel start to kind of lean back like a dad would. It's like, this is good, and he's having small talk and conversation with Henry, and that goes into a great conversation later on, but we'll get to that conversation. But the reason why I bring all this along to go full circle is by the end of it, and I hate to bring it up, but I feel like we should talk about it now. Ellie and Sam have a conversation on the bed, and they're talking about like fear. And this whole time, Ellie's like, yeah, no, I'm afraid of everything. And she tries to joke it off, but like, no, I'm always afraid. And he starts to ask about like, how do you know if something's gonna happen after you turn? And and all of a sudden, like, she's like, what's going on? And then he points down and he's bit. And now in the game, it hurt, right? Like, we all can say, like, dang, no,
Yeah.
not a little kid. Like, but the context is different.
Yes.
Because in this, like, he lets her know what's going on, and then she shares with him, hey, I'm infected, it's gonna be okay. And she proceeds to go using the same exact book to communicate and to affirm him with some level of hope. And we get to see like her try to use her own blood, put it on the wound, and thinking everything is gonna be okay.
That got me.
Now, I ask you guys, I bring this up because did you guys think for a second at any moment that they were going to change it before we go to the next part of this?
Wow.
Because that I was like, well, they could, keep one of them alive or something maybe happen, but then Sam stays alive or something like that. But I was like, because I questioned it. I kind of was like, can her blood do that? Like what is, like, maybe he'll be cured for a day and then he'll eventually later turn. I really didn't know, but I was curious. Like, did you guys during that moment be like, are they gonna change this for real?
If you see, it's so egoistic of me, but if you see my reaction with you and I and Ty, I was sort of dreading it. But I would not be surprised if they would have changed Sam and Henry's fate. To me, if they would have changed the rules of Ellie's blood and the immunity, I think that's would have rocked the boat more. Being like, wait a minute, then stuff to come shakes off a little bit because of how it's not that easy. And yeah, just for folks who haven't played the game, again, we said in the beginning of this is spoilers that in the game, Ellie doesn't tell Sam that she's immune, and Sam doesn't tell her that she's bit.
Right.
At that point, he's looking for hope. He asks her, like, do you think after all this, is there anything left? And she sort of like denies it, but like not says no, but just shrugs to that, which doesn't give Sam the hope he was looking for. In this one, it was so weird because when I watched it last night, I'm like, I think she genuinely believes she can help him, but I'm also thinking, is she trying just to make it easier for him and get him off this way? Because again, Bella's doing so much beautiful stuff without even saying a word. She puts her cut into him and is holding his ankle, and she closes her eyes, and it's like if she's doing a prayer. She's doing it comes out like she's doing a prayer, and then immediately she starts biting her nail. But like, I don't know if this is gonna work or not. And this is her first attempt of being like, I could do some good with what I got in me. So yeah, I was dreading it, but if this show shows anything, is that as much they can adapt scenes, dialogue, moments from the game, they can still switch stuff off and even throw us hardcore fans off the rails to be like, wait, where is this going? Because again, episode 3, that flipped it for me. So I'm like, wait a minute, anything is possible now. This and what's to come.
Yeah. Jerome, what about you? Did you ever for a second kind of question, like, maybe they may switch this up in some way during that moment?
During which moment? Sorry. With Sam and Henry?
So the moment that Sam confides in Ellie goes and proceeds to give him her blood. And she's hoping, like Ronan said, like she's praying and hoping it's going to change and reaffirming him that it's going to be okay. Did you think that they were going to stick to what the game had, or did you think for a second they may change it?
Are you talking about just like with the outcome?
Yeah,
like making him live instead. No. I don't think I ever had any doubts that they would veer off at all. I don't know that you could. Like it's literally as a perfect narrative moment. So yeah, no, I never thought twice about it. I always definitely assumed. That being said, though, in my defense, I feel like they low key, very much so, have been implying it as well. So with their marketing. So yeah, no, I never thought twice about it. I definitely knew that the nightmares were coming once again.
Yeah, I think what it was is that because the scenarios were just so different, I'm like, this deaf kid and Joel and Henry having a conversation, I was like, they seem like they're out of the woods, but maybe Henry's gonna die. That's what I thought. I was like, maybe Henry may die, and they have to I kind of was like, then
it wouldn't have been as painful. It wouldn't have been as painful. I don't
right. And so that's where this gets interesting, because I wish we had somebody that hadn't played the game. I want somebody to speak on that. Like anybody that's in the chat right now, if you guys have not played the game, let me know your thoughts. Like, did you guys think the way that it was going to go down was going to go down? Or did you guys think, oh, wow, this is going to actually work out? There's hope. Because the transition to this is interesting. I'm about to bring somebody else in here. Is when Ellie wakes up that next day, she sees Sam sitting on the side and he's just not moving. And so we're like, okay, he's not irate. He's not losing it. Maybe it worked. No. Like the moment that she was in his peripheral vision, he attacked her, and then all hell broke loose. And that's when everything that your worst fears could happen happened. But I wanted to bring this up because he is deaf, and we talked about this, Ronan, is he literally couldn't hear her. If he had not looked the way that he was looking direct her, she probably would have already been dead. honestly. Like he would have probably ripped into her much earlier. But because she couldn't hear, that added a whole nother element to it because it surprised us as viewers because we were like, oh wow, maybe he's okay because he's not freaking out. But no, like there's a reason. Like as soon as he can see her, it's like okay, now attack. But Jedi Mike, what's going on, dude?
Yo.
Welcome to the fray, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's funny you saying for someone who hasn't played a game. So I'm literally walking my fiance right now with the show and everything. I told like she doesn't really play games like that, but we got into like the first and second episode, and we haven't got to the remaining ones yet to this one. But yeah, to answer your question, if someone have not been watching the games and kind of seeing this reaction, what they're expecting, it just also is nice to have that perspective because again, it's like yes, we're predictable of what's happening, but not only that, even as a person who played the games, it's still left to interpretation. Even what happened with episode 3. Just what they did with that whole storyline. I'm not even gonna lie, I was breaking down, like getting emotional watching just the previous episode with them building, because you have to understand, thinking of the emotional journey not only that Joel's going through, but Ellie, that she's in a position only that yes, she's discovering this world. Obviously, she's never been in a car before and everything like that, just small things. But then not only that, she never really killed somebody before until like recently. But slowly, as she's building up, she's now watching the emotional turmoil that Joe had experienced for over 20 years, right? And now you being the buildup of the episode for like with Tess, now with Bill, and then now with with these characters today, like with this recent episode, it's kind of building in terms of not everybody you're always on edge in terms of who's next, but also knowing that you're making tough decisions that people, even their own family members, are put in difficult circumstances that they never thought they could have done before. And now all of a sudden, when he realized after he done that scene, especially just like I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think right now, and it's like, all right, let me just shut this off, because what I just did, the unthinkable, right? And as Ellie, being as a child watching this, is like, hey, that could have been me. Like think about that, like if she put in a position, if Joel was in that situation and she's breaking, like, they're both children. So just like, I just think that there's many layers that you can watch it just in that scenario, that how will we react in that situation. But yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a whole conversation, a part of this, of just the whole scenario. I've been trying to avoid it. But I wanted to talk about Sam, adding him, as being person is deaf, and how that changes the perspective and scope of how the transition from the game to this medium looked like. The actor is actually, I think this is his very first role. I think he's actually from Bowie, Maryland, actually.
Yes.
And so shout out to a young guy. He did a great job. But yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, as far as Henry is concerned, so I think that's a good segue, talking about Henry. So Henry and Joel, they end up, how do I put it, trying to come to some place of reality of where they're at, where it's like Henry was like, look, man, you can survive. I saw you deal with those guys in ways that I've never seen people do it. I've never even shot a gun before. I've never even killed anybody before. I can navigate well, but I cannot kill and I cannot hurt people. Like, I need your help, and I think we can be able to benefit each other. Where Joel, he don't trust anybody. I think their first interaction was hilarious because Henry was like had the gun on them, and like Joel was like, "Yeah, I'm cool." And Henry's like, "You don't seem real cool, man." Like, and Joel, like Joel's a killer. Joel could care less. Like Joel's trying to assess, like, how fast can I kill these kids with protecting Ellie at the same time. But Henry as an individual, like, he's trying to be very transparent and honest about a lot of things. How did you guys think about Henry in the way that they used him in this one? Because it's very different from the game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because with the game, like, he's definitely a lot stronger. Like, he's definitely a little bit more well put together in certain senses. But with this, like, you give him an actual arc. You give him an actual purpose. Like, there's a reason why all this is falling on his head. And I think it came to a really interesting culmination when he had the conversation with Joel when Ellie and Sam were playing.
Yeah.
And he said something along the lines that he was like, I'm not a good person. And Joel was like, no, I understand. Like, I shouldn't have judged before. He's like, no, like, there was a good man that, yeah, I didn't kill him, but I basically sent him to his death. And I did it for my selfish reasons because I wanted to protect my brother. And it's crazy because there's such parallels between Joel and this man that you just don't even understand and comprehend. But for him, he was like, no, like, I'm damned because of this. Like, this was not a good thing I did. Like, I deserve this kind of thing. And I think that what struck a chord with Joel was when he said, well, you're a father, and that he turned off. He switched off. He's like, yeah, it's time to go. It's time to get up out of here. But what did you guys think about that interaction and just understanding, I guess, Henry's perspective in this whole thing and how they used him in this? And do you think Henry's arc was better in this versus the game? And also in the context of this episode and last episode, how do you think they used it?
I liked it just because of how interwoven it was to the setting. It's so much fun when you get to Sam and Henry in the game, and it's left in interpretation of where they're going. They were in a caravan, I believe, and they got separated, and then they want to join the Fireflies, which is like, that's what we're looking for this girl. Which it's tied up for that. It's in the storyline. Like, all right, they want to go where Ellie needs to go. But through him, we're getting not just character development, but we're getting theme development.
Right.
People may not know it, but like I think in hindsight, this episode thematically, what it's trying to say, it's gonna hearken and it's gonna foreshadow a lot of stuff to come, and people can expect that.
Mm-hmm. Especially what you just said right there, is almost like in this world now is like what decisions that you're making is that to be selfish is to survive, right? Almost putting yourself in those situations, especially when it comes to you protecting somebody, right? He already made that decision or that mistake with Tess. Now it's almost like if we make that same decision with Ellie, we shall soon see. But with that conversation he had with Henry, I just felt that was almost just just foreshadowing. Again, just a tone that's going to be set in terms of not only Joel's inner struggle with himself in this entire season where he's going through, but not realizing that, okay, listen, do I have to be, screw my character, screw morality. It's like I want to survive, and especially I want someone else to survive. And what would decisions I will make in order to tend that to happen, right? Regardless of that was a situation put me through, right? It's just that's almost come as a selfless act for a selfish reason. I think like I'm trying. I hope I'm explaining that in the right way.
Yeah, you're using perfect verbiage, and you're also being very careful and mindful, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the hard part about it, and I want Jarrell to speak as well, is the whole reason why Catherine is doing what she's doing. I mean, Catherine's technically a psychopath. Like she's not a good person. Like she's not a good person, and she openly, blatantly said in OG Tommy's conversation with her that look, man, my brother was the good one. Like I was cool with burning the world. Like, and he kind of swayed her and said like, nah, it's all right. But really, she's bitter because her brother died. And it's like she put her whole everybody at risk. Even the last episode, when I went and rewatched this one and went back to the fourth one, I was like, oh wow, she justified killing the doctor because she couldn't use him as an end. And then she also used him as a catalyst. Like, see, this is what happened. Like, Henry did this. Henry brought these people on us. Like, she's trying to find everything she can as a means to justify her actions, and her actions they're not sound. They don't make any actual good logic. And because of what Henry did, it kind of set her off, but it also speaks to humanity in general. Like, she didn't have to make the choice to do it like this, but she did.
And with that right there, as you just said, is almost you having excuses to justifying bad behavior, but also her having misplaced trauma. It's like
Yeah.
for that any instance of us in our own lives, like for example, let's say we have a family member that passed, and let's say we have other family members that might have been like, well, you weren't there. This is your fault. You weren't at the doctor's office. You weren't this, right? Same thing. You weren't at the funeral. Something like that, right? It's same thing. You're putting the blame on somebody for something that really you were out of control of. Again, you had a choice in terms of what you felt and what decision that you made, which obviously that she displayed in these last 2 episodes.
Man, why you had to bring up the word trauma, Mike? Because if we take that word trauma and pinpoint it to every single character
Oh yes.
in this right now, we could say, okay, Joel's point of trauma, we know it brought him to, but even using Henry, because his one moment of trauma, he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't know the actions of what happens to a loved one or somebody that's in your care, what that does to you. Man, why you had to say that, Mike? We ain't got there yet.
I will say, just to speak on Kathleen real quick, because I have a lot of passionate opinions about her that I'm just going to condense down for here. But simply put, when it comes to her specifically, I really, not only do I not like the character, but she's so incredibly boring to me. I think she was only in two episodes, maybe 3.
No, she's been in the last 2 episodes.
Last 2 episodes only. Okay, but yeah, it's such a boring character. I get where they were like going with her, and I like the way that they sort of gave Henry this sense of like it was just a big part of his story arc, I guess. Gave him
the consequences
a lot more
of his
actions. I liked where their head was at with that, because him speaking with Joel, that made for some very dynamic conversations. But for God's sakes, this is one of the most boring, sleep-inducing, paper thin, soon to not be memorable villains I've seen in quite some time. Like, bruh, if she was coming after me, like, I think I would just be laughing, bruh. Like, what, we gonna hit me with an apple pie? Lady, I will literally shove a shovel through your throat, okay? Don't play with me. What you mean? Who's she trying to scare? There ain't no way she's scaring me, bruh. Ain't no way. Lord have mercy. For God's sakes, fucking Ellie is 10 times scarier than her, and she's like 14.
So that's the interesting thing about that.
Yeah.
With Kathleen, I don't think it's necessarily.
And I do appreciate, like, again, sort of her effect on the story in some ways. Again, how this led to like her narrative bleeding over into Sam and Henry. I there's some interesting stuff there, but for the love of God, her character and her performance, just no, respectfully, just no. Especially when you think about like some of the baddies in the game or upcoming that I can't mention. It's just like no. Dude, for God's sakes, this one random nigga from like, what was it, Terminus and The Walking Dead? Remember when they implied like Glenn was gonna get hit with the bat, right? And this one white dude was like walking down that cow trough or whatever where people were bleeding out. That nigga, I'm spacing out on that white dude's name, but literally that gangly nigga right there was more intimidating than Mrs. Peaches. It looks like she should have been in Matilda trying to scare me. Okay. So I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know everybody's just slapping the show with a 10 out of 10 and there's no flaws. Everything's great. I get it, but I'm so sorry.
But here's the thing. So I get where Joel's coming from. I kind of get it. But to me, because she comes off as a loving person, like visually, I'm like, she would be a cool aunt and whatnot. But the fact that she's willing to shoot people around and has this rage in her, I think that's what's fascinating dynamic. Like I've seen this action before, and I don't connect her with being violent and all this stuff, and how that thing is bubbling in her. So I like that aspect. But I think thematically is where I'm more intrigued with her.
Sure.
But having said that, she has some great lines. Like at one point when the doctor said in the last episode, I think it was the last episode where he's like, they had a gun to my head, and she like, have I met the necessity, the right qualifications to get you talking. So I love that. But I get to and what's weird is that I heard that they want us to be conflicted of her departing that world, because to an extent you understand where she's coming from, but she's willing to send an army over 2 kids. And I hope I'm not jumping too ahead, but she says that, kids die all the time. That's nothing, that you think this is what happens when you fuck with fate. And I was so intriguing. And the fact the way she goes out is, by a kid who happens to be infected. So it's so poetic.
That was a hilarious tie-in.
Oh my god!
Look, put some respect.
Wait, bring that comment back
on that
my
woman's name.
bring
Look,
that
I'm gonna shut this down because old girl is actually a beast. She's actually a really good actress.
Melanie Lindsay, yes.
She was in Castle Rock. She did a great job in Castle Rock. She did a great job in Yellow Jackets too. Put some respect on her name. But
no, listen. If she's listening right now, this is no slight against you, my girl. All right, it's just and they's got a lot of love for The Last of Us. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing personal.
So my thing about Catherine is, I think Ronan hit the nail on the head. That's what I was gonna say. Is that she's supposed to look like a person that's a nice person. That's what she's supposed to look like. She's supposed to look like a mom. She's supposed to look like a maternal figure that is fundamentally messed up. And she's been given an army. Like, somebody psychologically imbalanced or dealing with that level of trauma should never, in any situation, be followed. Hold on. Let me talk. In this situation, she should never have been able to have an army. Why would people why would they follow her? Why would they actually follow her? And it's kind of like, if you look at the beginning of this episode, that's the type of people that are following her. Like, broken people dealing with trauma and oppression are going to follow somebody that are going to feel their desires. That's the whole point. The whole point is, like, she fulfills what they feel like they should do, which is anything against anybody else. And so, but in terms of, I think that the way that they wrote her was better than the presentation, what they actually gave her. So to Jarrell's point, I do understand what he means by that. But in the context of this, like, I didn't have any issue with it, because she served the real true purpose of the narrative, which is to make you understand the levels of consequences for people that are broken and flawed being leading people, and what that does. And then also the consequences of actions and how that is going to, no matter what, you're going to have to pay the piper one way or another. It's just sad that it would have to be one of the most heartbreaking things that I've seen since, when did the first game come out?
2013.
Like, when the game came out, I can't remember. I was like, I'm sitting there playing it, and I was like, man, I gotta put this controller down, bro. Like, I don't want to play anymore. Like, that was just rough. But watching this in the way that this we're gonna have to go ahead and just go into it. We see Sam sitting over to the side, and then Ellie kind of is like looking. She taps him, and then all of a sudden he lunges at her. And the night before, I think that Joel and Henry had came to the consensus, like, they were going to leave together. They were all going to leave together. Everything was going to be cool.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, they both waking up to the most disturbing worst case scenario ever.
Yeah.
Where basically Sam is trying to rip into Ellie, and Ellie is screaming for help, screaming for Joel for help. Like, she is a traumatized. Like, Bella nailed that performance.
Oh,
like because I was like, I could imagine hearing like a kid yelling and screaming like, this is emergency. I need to run to them as fast as I possibly can. So Joel's fatherly instinct kick in. Is like, okay, I got to go try to help her. And like Henry looks, is like, yeah, no, you're not touching my brother. And this happens, and I think in a moment, like, I think yesterday we looked at it, right, Jarrell? It was like 10 seconds, roughly 10 to 15 seconds that this all played out. Mm-hmm. Something around that time. And basically, Henry is like, no, you're not touching her. He didn't say anything. He just shot at the ground where Joel was. And then he kind of looks back, points the gun back and forth, and like Ellie is screaming for Joel. And then eventually Henry goes and shoots his own brother. Now, then he realizes this whole entire thing that's happened, this whole entire situation, like the person that he had to betray to try to save his brother to begin with, the reason why they've been getting hunted down and having to starve themselves and have to survive has been for his brother. All for him now to have killed his brother to protect somebody that isn't even blood to him. He couldn't process it. And so he proceeds to kill himself. I was traumatized. Like that messed me up. Like I think the first time I was definitely crying.
I feel fucked up, but like I'm glad I recorded that. Again, it's so weird. But if anybody ever doubted our fandom for this world, this franchise, these characters, and just basic good storytelling, the proof is right there. You know, camera don't lie.
Dude, it was just rough, man. How did you guys navigate it? Because I think both you guys have played the game, Jedi and Jarrell. How did you guys deal with it, knowing that it was coming, but the way that they executed in this situation, did it still hit you emotionally? Did it still affect you? And also the execution of the paradox of the situation. That was the biggest thing that I wanted to kind of bring up. It's kind of like, how do you process that in that amount of time? How do you deal with, okay, these two people have been trying to protect you this whole entire time with you and your brother, but your brother is basically effectively turned. Do you keep this man Joel from killing your brother or touching your brother? Or do you try to go and save this girl? Like, what do you do? And it was like seconds. He only had seconds to react. And I said to Jarrell yesterday, like, realistically, my head would have went two different places. Like, one, I don't want anybody touching my brother. Definitely. But then two, I don't know how to process this. I probably would have dropped the gun because I would have been in shock. Like, the fact that he had the strength to even do what he did is a lot. But then two, the trauma of it, like, that's just so much. I don't know how I would have processed it. And I think that everybody individually would have dealt with it differently. I don't think anybody would have had the same exact reaction that Henry did. And I'm not just talking about him killing himself. I'm talking about like him choosing to shoot his brother in the head or choosing to shoot at Joel on the ground as opposed to letting Joel take care of it. Because some people would have been like, maybe like, yeah, I can't do with this. Like, please get my brother off of her. Or some people have been like, don't touch my brother, leave him alone. But I'm curious y'all's two perspective, like, because I never thought about those different kind of scenarios while I played the game. When I played the game, I was like, this hurts. But seeing it in live action is different. Like, I'm thinking in my head, like, how would have I navigated this? How do we get here? So yeah, I'll leave it to you guys.
So let me just say that, you know, the episode, I think the episode is good, but I feel that this the last few minutes that you're referring to are almost exceptional. I mean, for one, I didn't have that thing that I was equally affected both ways. I don't know that one is necessarily better than the other. I think both the live action and the game hit the same way, which is, for me, was just devastating. Probably some of the hardest storytelling moments I think I've ever sat through, game or the show. It's hard to even really articulate just how fucked up it was, because it not only catches you off guard, but it's a perfect morality paradox where there can only be, I suppose, sinful decisions, dark decisions that can be made. There's no other options. At least in this particular situation, there's not. And I don't know, that it just it's a real mind fuck. I mean, to your point about Henry shooting the kid and then shooting himself, what most people do, I don't know. I don't really know if I can speak to that. I don't really know if I can answer what I would have done if I was Henry, but the things to consider though is like kind of like the general Zod moment in Man of Steel. You know, with Superman, he kind of like is forced to kill or let innocents die. Henry was pretty much put in that exact scenario. And while, you know, who the fuck wants to shoot some kid, let alone your little brother, but at the same time, I mean, can't just let another innocent life go. So it's heavy. It's really dark. I haven't really looked at a lot of the reception, but probably going to go down as one of the best and most memorable TV show moments. For sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, yeah, I mean, gentlemen, you go ahead, because yeah, I could.
Oh, this man crying. You all right, bro?
Close up, bro.
You all right?
I get it.
Yeah, because I remember like so the game came out 2013. I was 15. I was 15 years old. Right now, I'm 24 now. And I'm like in a different position in my life where I experienced since the original game, where I might have been like mental illness, you know, dealing with, you know, depression or whatever like that, you know, leads to, you know, think of decisions and stuff like what he made, right? And I just knowing just in that place of not knowing whether it might be anxiety, you being in shock, whatever, it's just almost like you don't know what's going on. And to the point, whatever emotion that you're feeling at that moment, it's just that you don't want to continue feeling it or like, you know, breathing. So that's what, let me just make this emotion stop by ending my life, right? But it's also this level of disarray too. He doesn't know what to comprehend. He's not thinking clearly. And then but especially just as I think also just the way Henry displayed this, you know, in terms of after his performance was he modernized it. I felt, you know, we always talk about, you know, black men, mental health and everything like that. And just like what I saw in that situation, just like, you know, of how we operate in that moment of trauma, of, you know, the trigger word, trauma. And I just felt like in that moment, it just, I say I could relate to it now as a man, as an adult now, when I was like playing that when I was like only 15 years old. So, and I knowing just in those circumstances, like what he was going through mentally, of just not knowing what to do, what's the next step, how to move forward. It's like he thought there was no way to move forward. So, so that's what I just kind of felt. That scene really touched me. Now seeing it in an adaptation way, but also in a way of now I just kind of seeing it as an adult. This performance kind of felt more modernizing than what I guess were originally intended. Because the actor, to me, obviously this one in the game, he seemed like a little bit older, in my opinion. So now I see more of a younger man, like almost close to my age now. So it just kind of just felt like able to just relate to that moment of like don't know what to do, and people around you calming you, trying to calm you down, and you're not hearing them, you're not hearing anything in that moment. So that scene just really just got to me. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it just hurt, man. Like I think Jarrell said it really well. Is that there were no right answers. Like I mean, I think they could have tried to put like something over him and like wrapped him up, but at the end of the day, like Henry's brother is gone. That's it. So I mean, no matter what, he has to figure out how to live with that. Like, I mean, even if his brother was shot in the head or not, like he couldn't. I don't think he'd be able to live with that. So,
And you could also people could say that like, was it probably the most humane thing to do instead of letting him turn into one of those things? It's just to let him be because it's too late. And also with him choosing to go off as well, it's just like Sam was his purpose. That was his mission. Yeah. Again, folks, the key word is foreshadow and just themes is what this episode does. I want to just give a quick shout out to the original actors who played Sam and Henry. Yeah, because again, we just even in gameplay, I just meet these two and they still happen to be brothers, and as an older sibling, that always gets me. So yeah, I just want to give. Let me try to find their names right now. Give me 1 second. But yeah, it's so it's weird, man, because people say about like, why did it do this? The game is perfect. Why not? And I'm like, here's the thing: for better, for worse, some people won't be able to pick up the control and experience moments like this. And again, it's a dark, fucked up, bleak moment, but it is a moment about what love can do, for better or for worse.
Yeah. I intentionally brought this up now so that we could talk about something a little bit more not necessarily exciting, but more positive, I guess.
Oh,
Is
can I slip something in here real quick
Go for
though?
yeah.
I just found it this morning. At least I hope I fucking liked it. Oh my god, I'm on Twitter too much. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Okay.
Someone had took a quote from this episode, which was "My blood is medicine,"
Yeah,
and that fucking like gave me goosebumps earlier.
yeah.
Yeah, there was another quote I think this morning from Neil Druckmann. I'm sorry.
I
Um,
literally, I
and
sent the I am legend gif of like, no, no.
yeah,
I was like, no way, sir. You are not allowed to do that within 24 hours. Like, get the
yeah,
fuck out of
because
here.
I think that somebody had kind of put like Joel's like, no, that was what Ellie wrote on Sam's pad.
Yeah.
And that was one
Yeah.
of the last things you see. Because the thing about it, like even the way that ended, like Ellie was just done. She was like, "Which way is it?
Yeah.
Let's go." Like I don't have it in me. Let's make this worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like let's make this not for nothing, which is another foreshadow, which we'll get into that later. But yeah, I wanted to
Sam,
go ahead.
before we go, the actress who played Henry in the game is Brandon Scott, and the actor who played Sam is Najee Jeter. So just shout out to Najee and Brandon because, again, uh, we don't get to Sam and Henry and our love for them without what those two did in the game. So just shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I wanted to talk about the bloaters, man. Like, so the thing is, like, Kathleen, she was talking with, I'm gonna keep calling him OG Tommy. And
Yeah,
OG Tommy was like, "Look, bro, like,
Percy.
we got. Should we be doing this? Should we be concentrating?" She's like, "Yeah. Do you not see the importance of this?" And all of a sudden, they hear something. They go down to this little cavern and they see like literally the foundation starting to well up and down. And so we're like, "What the heck is that?" And now we find out later that it's not just the bloater; it's a horde of everything. And that whole sequence, the first time me and Ronan saw it, like it was completely unfinished. But even then, it was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
But watching it completed, dog, that was epic. Like the scope of this, like I commend you, HBO. Like you guys are the GOAT because the way that turned out and the way that you guys executed it, like it was like, yeah, I love that. I love that whole setup and that sequence. Even before that, you know, Sam and Henry and Ellie and Joel, they kind of thought they had made it out. Some old dude was sniping them in the tower.
Yeah.
Joel goes, it's like he makes quick work of him, but the old man, I think he was done anyway.
Yeah, there's something you could say that I think that even the official Last of Us HBO podcast says that old man probably lived a life and already saw everybody he cared for gone and he was ready to go. He was just like, listen, there's a reason why my aim is crap. I'm ready to go. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. And Joel begging him, please don't make me do this.
Yeah. Another traumatic moment, but after that was when, of course, Kathleen and them tried to descend upon everybody, and that the way that they set that up, like I was like, it was just, I loved it. I love that whole sequence. But I wanted you guys to be able to talk about the uses of VFX and how they kind of handled like all the different variations, and they just coming literally. It seemed like it was weird. It felt like for the first time in this show, for me, this feels like an apocalypse situation. Like literal creatures are coming out of the bowels of the ground. Like it looked biblical. I'm not gonna lie. Like it did not look like, okay, yeah, this is not promising. Like, how do you survive in a world like this, realistically? I wanted you guys to talk towards that.
Well, I mean, so with that scene again, like now seeing it completed, it kind of first sense of going to back to that zombie trope, or like the stereotypical we see them coming in different environments, whatever, but not to this certain scale. It's almost like they were bombarded by everybody at the end, with Henry and everyone, Ellie. But it's almost like, I don't want to say felt like the bloaters and then we're like saving them. There's almost like the cavalry of that came to the point like, oh wait, okay, now just not man versus man anymore, it's man versus in that situation, like the circumstances of the battlefield just flipped just like that, and then to a point it actually became in their favor, in one way or another. But again, that was kind of going to the realistic aspect of just the world that they are, is now that if for someone who doesn't know this game or anything, like, okay, these creatures are evolving, right? And to a more of a again back to a more apocalyptic way. So just again, when you're seeing this form, like, wait, what is that? It's like, oh no, they just continue to evolve, and which then it makes the threat just more dangerous to someone who don't even know the source material of that, in terms of their metamorphosis stage.
Yeah, and this wasn't a situation that came out of the game either. Like they created this scenario to kind of come out. So it's like for them to use the backdrop of fire and them coming out of the ground, I thought it was an excellent centerpiece for it. But
it's similar and different because in the game, besides the hunters, there are infected who come through, but it's in the daytime. And from what I heard is that the only reason why they shot at nighttime was because the clickers and the infected look scarier at nighttime than in the daytime, but they still came instead of the ground. They came through the house, and I like that they just showcase that, like, oh yeah, the bloater's here, and you can't really stop them. Granted, in the game, you throw, Molotovs, and you throw your shotgun, and you throw the exploding jar of nails, whatnot. But I'm like, no. There's a reason why there's that history of the ecology of like 20 years being infected. That's what it does to you.
Yeah.
Brilliantly shot. Oh, I love the cinematography.
Yeah, the interesting thing is your girl Kathleen that Jarrell hates, man, she took a L. she got shanked a couple different times.
Oh my god, literally one of the happiest moments of the season for me. Literally. Oh, by the way, do y'all remember that hilarious fucking like waddling penguin run she did when Tommy was getting taken down? That shit had me fucking crying, bro. But anyway, yeah, I've never been happier to see this character die. Thank God.
I instantly thought of that clip from the making of the Phantom Menace, where it's like George Lucas, like, again, it's like poetry, it rhymes. You think all kids die all the time? Well, a kid's gonna kill you this time. They just happen to be effective, so it's poetry. I was just like, damn.
Yeah.
Again, and we saw this, Sam. We saw this not done with VFX, so I didn't know that was a kid that was chasing Ellie at first.
Right.
And the poetry of with Kathleen, or people calling her Karen, being taken down like that. So I like the metaphors and the again foreshadow they do with this, and how her lust for vengeance through violence is her own demise.
Vengeance have consumed her. And it's consumed them.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, there's an interesting callback though, and I know they always put Easter eggs in here. There's a moment in the second game that also mimics the visual aesthetics of this. I want to put that picture up so bad. I don't think I can.
Yeah.
I better not do it.
Just because you never know. You never know what they might do. That's why.
Yeah, I don't want to risk it. But no, I thought it was freaking dope. Different variations being showcased like that. Night drop. This is, I actually really enjoyed this episode, but at the same time I didn't, because I was traumatized by it.
Yeah, so I was just about to say, like, the episode was good. But my God in heaven, I would never watch it again. What the fuck? Oh, it's good for sure, but like, nah, especially not with that
just nasty, bleak ass. Because at least in the game, like I don't know, maybe you can like just go like kill some infected. And
Yeah,
walk
you
it
can
off
keep
or
it
something.
moving. Like you
Yeah.
like you can pick up the controller and take your anger out on some other stuff later. But
Yeah.
But the
with
show
this, we're
stays
just
with the moments. That's what's unique. And I tell folks, because again, spoilers, is that the game, once Henry and Sam are gone, we're off to Tommy. We're off to a new season, if you will, and even a new scenario. We didn't even have a time for a funeral or for a burial site. The show, because of being a television, it has the time to stay with them, and the fact that Joel bothered burying in them. And I didn't say it, but I was pretty sure when we saw this shot in the trailer. I was like, that's Ellie in the background, and that's Joel just thinking that. I'm like, I wonder if it's ... But I was like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because they barely at that point marketed Sam and Henry. But this, folks, is Pedro Pascal saying, "This is why I don't want to connect. I just saw an older brother lose the love of his life, the thing he was destined to protect. That happened to me 20 years ago. Fuck that. I don't want to go through what that kid just went through again," which is why, again, look what the cinematographer saying, the distance and how much he doesn't want to get involved, even though he's already been connecting with Ellie. So, this show is fucked up, but I love it.
yeah.
It's good, but I almost wish I'd never played the games because they're so good. It's almost like that MCU effect where it's like once you leave Infinity War and Endgame and they're still going, you're like, oh sweet Jesus, those movies were way better than what I thought as we continue forward. That's almost how I feel about this show. It's like, holy sweet Jesus. I mean, I love the game, sure, but like this show really shows you, like, my God, are those games just masterful? Like, holy shit.
And what's weird is that you say that you probably wish you didn't play the game so you could experience it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because people who didn't play the game are like just like down on the luck, and they're like us when we play the game first. But we're in a unique scenario where we're just dreading it. And like Sam was pointing out, how much were they going to change? How much were they going to stick to the same? And all I'm going to say is that I highly recommend, after you finish watching the stream, go watch the podcast of the HBO, because Craig and Neil dive deep into concepts and ideas about what happened with Sam and Henry in the game and what happened with them in the show. And that's all I'm going to say. Again, as a cinephile, as someone who loves hearing and watching the making of, I was being like, okay, how did this go down in the writer's room? How did this go down in conversations? And yeah, it's fascinating, the behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, this is another great episode for me. It just was a traumatic one, man. Like I didn't even want to put this picture up, to be honest with you. Like this is not something you want to see. This is not something. I mean,
and we're not even. And Sam, we haven't even brought up the Itch saga, the underground school sequence. That, again, folks, it's right out of the game, and that's a unique storytelling mechanic in the game where, like, you hear about this Itch character, this person who created this system underground, and you pick up notes and letters and find out what happens to them and the people involved. And all I'm gonna say is go play the game because I don't want to spoil it.
Right, people need to go play these games, bro. People are like, oh my gosh, like this show is so good. Somebody go play them games. You think this show is good? Lord have mercy.
Kenya, hey man, if I was working with Star Wars, Dave Filoni would be looking over his shoulder and be like, man, Ronan, you're right on the edge, man. Like, you signed an NDA. Don't forget that.
Look, Kenya, every time you see me do this, because I'm looking at Ronan, like,
I know. I but it's, hey man, it's last episode of HBO. We gotta play it close to the chest.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna go. This was dope. I appreciate you guys, and also shout out to Ronan for holding it down last time because I was sick with the flu. Shout out to everybody that was a part of that one. Busy,
That was so
Akasan,
fun, man.
all you guys, Keaton. Yeah, I looked at it, and so I was entertained by you guys' conversation. So I'm glad I was able to come back this time. Where can everybody find you, Jedi Mike?
Hey, you can find me on this channel on TeamJVS. You also can find me on my channel, Jedi Mike 7 Reviews and News and Truth. Got a stream coming on tonight talking about recapping stuff from The Last of Us news, this week, but also on our Black History Month, I'll be breaking down Black characters introduced from Marvel, DC, and other milestone comics, etc. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe on Jedi Mike 7 on YouTube.
Go watch that stream, folks. Go watch it.
All right. Jarrell Alexandria, where can everybody find you?
Literally how it's on the screen, Drells Alexandria. That's my YouTube page. You can pretty much find out everything about me from there. I do a lot of reviews and reactions and stuff. So yeah.
All right, so we got a late entry into this, you guys. We got busy.
Yo,
I don't show up and
I don't know, bro. I'm telling you, like, I don't know if I'm just stupid, but like when I saw your message about like, oh, come at 12, I assumed it was like due to time zones, it was gonna be like midnight. So I just woke up and I'm over here. I'm like, I see your text. You're like, oh, yo, come through. And I'm like, what? Like, dude.
I heard the sound effect of you popping up. I'm like, wait a minute. What's
I woke up. I look at my phone and I just jetted out of bed. I was like, shoot.
Like, we were literally like saying farewells.
I know, yeah. I'm looking at the stream and I'm like, oh, maybe I have like 20 minutes left. And he's like, okay, I think we're gonna go. I was like, shoot. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, busy. I'm gonna give you opportunity to tell your infiltrated, thoughts and emotions on this. I'll make it easier for you though. What was some key moments in this episode that you felt like was commendable in comparison to the game, and then what were some moments in this that hit you emotionally? I haven't seen you react or anything, but
I went crazy. I'm telling you that. But like, starting with the bloater appearing, I mean that just gave me the chills. I mean, already the nest, as a whole. I mean, seeing all of these clickers come out at one spot. I mean, you saw how hard it was for them to take out two. Never mind, like 100, but like, it was just ridiculous seeing all of them in one spot. And, I always judge an episode based on how it really makes me feel. And I felt every emotion on the book, whether it was excitement, sadness, I got depressed, it was just a whole range of emotions. So, I mean, getting all excited till like 20 minutes later, knowing what was going to happen and being extremely depressed with the whole Henry thing. I mean, the Henry thing hit me hard because it's like, it's coming, but I think I want to say that they almost did it better in this game. I mean, in the show, because I know Bella Ramsey's like performance, like right after Henry, takes his life sadly, we see Bella do this like little like I don't know, like this little whimper, the acting in that scene just absolutely killed me. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but I mean, there was those two moments where I don't know. I kind of made it the best episode for me. I don't know if I'm just still excited about it, but I want to stand by that right now. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Nah, look, respect. Because when we were going through it, like it felt like each episode felt like it was ramping up. Like they were finding ways of raising the bar and also keeping us on our toes. And I think the thing about it is anybody that was kind of contemplating this series as a whole, it's like, what's the point? If you got a perfect game, why come up with the series? Like, if there's already a perfect product right here, should there be a Last of Us series? And so it's kind of like when we were watching it, it was like, wait, how am I still feeling emotions with this? I know this is coming. Like, I know this is gonna happen.
And the thing is, it's like, I think I mentioned this in the last stream. It's like I get that. It's like completely, and it's like, and I feel like that's why a lot of us shows like that are adapting a video game tend to like go off track and try to do their own thing, and because they're like, okay, we already have like the video game, so we might as well just do our own thing or try to change up the story. And most of the time I feel like it doesn't work when they do try to change things up. But then we have The Last of Us, where they are doing like so much to stick to the main story, and then on top of that, what is it called? I feel like it's perfect for people that aren't familiar with the video games, because a lot of people just aren't fans of video games in general. So they still have a chance to experience this amazing story through, watching it via streaming. So it's amazing to actually see the story kind of get out there, whether it's, through the HBO show or playing the game. And I think it's cool. So I do like that they did end up making this show, and I feel like they're doing a phenomenal job with it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think the consensus in terms of people that have never played games or never played this game, like they've been raving about it. And I mean, the views definitely speak for themselves. But I gotta ask, did you cry?
I was very close. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've ever cried during a reaction. But
Oh my god!
This
I
one
thought I was the
got
only
me
one.
so close. Nah,
I
this
thought I
one
was the
got me
only
so
one.
close. Nah, we still have hearts. You're good, bro. But nah, it's just we were so close. I was so close. This I think hit me more than the Bill and Frank episode, if I'm being honest. But I was
wow.
like very close. I think it's because it's like more people know what it's like to like love a sibling than to love a partner like that. So it's like to see him actually being like kind of like a protective figure, or like being the one that person is relying on. Just seeing all of that crumble, like that destroyed me. So I was very close. And those bastards being really good at their job, like with the acting and writing, didn't help. Like I hate them for being good at their job, because I'm like falling apart while they're just like doing what they're doing, and I'm just like, dude, like it was tough.
Oh, dude, it's Sam. Imagine with Bill Frank. It was just that music cue.
Oh,
We were like,
it was that. Yeah.
yeah.
that told me. I was like, I know they did not.
You're like, I refuse to cry.
I did. I was like, what was that one show or that cartoon? Like the dude's trying to hold in the thug tear. Yeah, that was me. I was trying to keep it right here. But yeah, man, Busy. Thanks for showing up late in the game. Where can everybody find you, man?
I mean, YouTube, TikTok, we're almost at 100K. We've been sitting at that like 97K mark for a while, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited. We're gonna be posting a crap ton more reactions. We've been posting some gameplay for like Hogwarts Legacy and stuff like that, so I'm looking forward to just dropping more content as a whole. And that's it.
Yeah, follow
Let's
this
go.
man's TikTok, y'all. Follow his TikTok.
Yeah.
Killing the
Short
game.
form, baby. Short form's taking over. Let's go.
Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah. Last but not least, co-host here, man with the plan, Ronan Unchained. Where can everybody find you, bro?
You can find me not spoiling stuff to the best of my abilities. You can find me on YouTube at Ronan Unchained. I'm covering this show each week. The Mandalorian is around the corner. Ahsoka will be coming soon. And there's some events that I'll be traveling to, hopefully, and bringing some coverage to you about that. And yeah, I am so happy this is the water cooler talk show of the week, if you will. Like each week we just gather around and be like, okay, y'all, who's gonna cry first? Let it out. Or who's got thoughts, positive and negative. So yeah, I'm so happy that I get to talk to people who play the game and people who haven't played the game and be like, all right, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Nah, man. It's been dope, man. And I can't wait to talk about the next episode.
We're
gonna shut up. I'm gonna shut up. We're gonna
what?
Yeah. Y'all take care. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, follow all these amazing people, and we'll be back next week. Peace, people.